All right, everybody. 24-23. If you say it often enough, the mantra would create a win for the Browns. I may have been one of the few people who actually predicted this victory, but it didn't come easy, and it didn't come fairly either. Let me explain. Hi, everybody. If anybody wants to join the festivities, Tony the Calf is with me. Others maybe will be with us as we go. Click on the link in the show description on YouTube. And sorry I'm a little late, but yeah, I had to feed my dog, and I also had to celebrate while I was feeding my dog. So you know how that goes. It took a remarkable one-handed catch that was underplayed by the TV announcers by David Njoku, who was being held the entire duration of the pattern that he ran. In the odds of that play being successful more than once out of times, no chance whatsoever. And that's the way the game kind of went today. They were hugging and mugging our guys downfield on the sidelines when we were running our patterns, and yet it's Emerson who gets the call in what seemed to be a big play of the game at the time. I don't mean to be whining and complaining, but the bottom line is that the Browns earned this win, and Brady is washed up.
Oh, it's bad.
And it's a damn good thing he is, because whenever he was forced to throw the ball deep, the ball sailing, but he doesn't have that natural stride and throw anymore. He's trying to use extra arm and extra body, and it's just not accurate anymore. The real Tom Brady in his youth would have put this game away way earlier than this. Would have been
like 44-14.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not saying what the score would have been, but I would have said a younger Brady and the officials in their back pocket would have made it impossible for the Browns to win this game, because the referees were in Tampa's back pocket. I don't know if you saw, a Cleveland Brown get slammed to the ground. They showed the end of the replay on the telecast. I mean, literally picked up and thrown as hard as he could be thrown down onto the ground. The referee looks at it and turns and walks away. That's a penalty. Everywhere that I have ever lived, been, seen, watched, that's a goddamn penalty. I was sad to see Tristan Wirfs get carted off the field. He's a fine football player. It was an inadvertent thing, from what I understand from the announcers, is that Koromoa came down on him. And we got hammer time. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Hey, I don't know. Am I muted?
No.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm all choked up, I guess.
I know. Finally, it happened to me right in front of my face. Yeah.
I just kept waiting for them to have the big turnover, the pick six, the fumble for the turnover.
It didn't happen.
It was just inevitable to happen, and it never did. And it was just like, okay, they're gonna figure out a way to screw this up, and then. But I think you both nailed it. That Brady is to that point in his career where his arm is not Tom Brady. I mean, he's 45 years old. Give him a break.
That's exactly right.
Okay. But he can't make that play even with the wide receivers he's got. I mean, he's got, a Jones on the twilight of his career, who's still better than everything we've got, or at least is equal to, Coop, and then you got Godwin, who's certainly good. They have guys that can play, and he can't get the ball out to him. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I want to use the pictures you sent me, Jim, but they are so pixelated. And I don't know why they're so pixelated.
They would be. It's probably just because I tried to pull them off the TV, and I was like, I'd wound it back and freeze framed it.
Right.
But what you could see is that that York's plant foot is so close to the ball. I don't think he's getting enough room to throw. And then you also talked about you thought that his plant foot was turned out a little.
Yeah, I mean, it
It
literally,
looked like it. Yeah,
he was sliding.
yeah. And it was by the time he actually got it down, the one view was better than the other, but it was really pixelated, even on my phone. And it just looked like he was way too close to the ball when he planted. It was like instead of striking through the ball, it looked like he was already past the ball and hitting it short, and I don't know. I mean, that's something they can fix, I'm sure, but you're going to have a good special teams coach, which we don't have. So,
I want to see if I can do this, though, just for the halibut. If I can share any of this, I don't know if this is going to work or not. It doesn't appear that it's going to. No, this isn't going to work. And I don't really, let me go to a Chrome tab here and see if this will work. All right. I think maybe this will. If I share this, are you seeing a shared screen right now?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Sorry for the pixelation, but Jim, thank you for doing what I asked. You cannot tell me that at the point of impact that this is what a kicker's body is supposed to look like. I mean, is it any wonder that this ball went left? Where else could it go? And, my feeling about this is that if they're working with this guy in practice, and this isn't happening in practice, but this is happening in games, he's got the yips.
Yeah.
I mean, and he ain't never going to make it in the NFL, let alone the Cleveland Browns. And I'm just grateful that the second opportunity that Chubb run the ball over the goal line so that Cade York didn't have to come out onto the field.
The way he's planted in that picture, I'm shocked his leg didn't just give out and he fell.
That's what,
keep
the
in mind
reason.
that there's an angle on the camera there. If you look at, how the hash marks, we're coming from the other side of the hash marks, so it's not really a straight on view. But yeah, I agree with you, Tony. I think it's definitely. I'm surprised he didn't just if it was wet, and you know how that field is there. It's not,
but it didn't affect the other kicker.
No, well, he was good.
I mean, but if you looked at the point of contact, I mean, and this guy has been consistently pushing him right, hooking him left, and I swear to God, the kick that was blocked the last game was low trajectory. He's been kicking low trajectory balls. This ball was an exceedingly low trajectory ball. So, I'm done sharing that because it makes me sick looking at it, to tell you the truth.
I wish I could have pulled the video too. I thought about trying to do that because it seemed like his steps weren't. Usually kickers have a flow to their steps. It's like 1, 2, boom, whatever it is, and they kind of have a certain walk up to it. And it seemed like he had like kind of a half a hesitation before, like he had like a, I don't know. Maybe I'm not looking at it right. It just looked a little odd. And that might be the way he does it all the time. I haven't really paid that much attention other than the fact that he keeps getting blocked and keeps getting, and missing. So
the Jaguars, they just took a lead over the Ravens. I know it's the Ravens and everybody's happy.
Overrated. Overrated. You want to pay $230 million plus guaranteed for Lamar Jackson? Be my guest.
But I will say, the call that they got the touchdown on gives credence to your belief that the referees call based on gambling. The Jaguars receiver caught the ball, got 1 foot in bounds, then his ass hit out of bounds before he could get his other foot down, and they called it a touchdown, which is not a touchdown. And it makes you wonder, hey, the referees must have had money on the Jaguars' money line.
Well, I mean, that's entirely possible. And fuck the Ravens if they can't flat out beat the Jaguars.
Yeah.
If all you can do is put up 13 points? Is that how many points did the King Lamar Jackson put up this week?
Yeah, it was 13 because Tucker had like 5 field goals.
Overrated. If I hear one more thing comparing Lamar Jackson to anybody who's in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to go ballistic. He's done nothing. He's proven nothing. He's never won big games. He's nothing except a shameless self-promoter who's selfish to the exclusion of his team and only cares about how much money he's going to earn. And he has said it in print.
Well, here we go. 2 seconds left. Ravens ball. Justin
If
Tucker
he makes a big play now, I'm going to die.
Justin Tucker on to try what is, I think, 67-yard field goal.
Well, don't put it past him.
Yeah, this is Justin
He
Tucker
did it in
we're
Detroit.
talking about. I mean, that's a hell of a kick, but
And this is outdoors, right?
he's one
It
of
is.
the 3 or 4 guys that could probably
Tucker
make
kicks it. Oh my God. Is it short? Oh, it's just short. It was short by about 1.5 feet.
Oh, today's the day the teddy bears had their picnic. Woo! All right, yeah. Yeah, Tucker's, what an incredibly fine kicker he is. Got nothing bad to say about that guy. Unbelievable. So, again, you look at all these teams, and it's like, whoever comes out of the Central, who really gives a flying fuck? Did the Bengals finally win like they were supposed to?
They did, yes. They won 20-16.
Yeah, and look how they had to struggle mightily. I mean, no team in the Central's worth dog shit. That's the honest truth. I mean, the power is coming out of the East, and and maybe not much more than that. I don't know. But going back to the Browns situation, it's funny how when they started giving the ball to Chubb again, they started moving the ball down the field. Starting out on first down with Jacoby Brissett staring down one receiver. And, and I can feel for Amari Cooper. Being the one guy, the only guy who can separate from his defender, and the whole world is on his shoulders, he dropped that pass. And that's what being a Cleveland Brown does to people, folks. If all they put around you is DPJ and his inability to separate from whomever is covering him mano, all the pressure's on one guy. And you have a quarterback who will stare at him like he has emotional stirrings for that guy. He will not unlock and look somewhere else until it's too damn late and he gets sacked. And I'm going to say to every Browns fan who has a problem with Deshaun Watson, one, you're not a fan. Second of all, there is a huge difference, even though I'm not going to slam Jacoby Brissett for going 4-7, because that's who he is. That's historically who he's been for every team he's played with. That's what he is. He does not go off quickly enough to his second, never gets to a third read, God only knows. And he's not an accurate long thrower. It took a wide open Amari Cooper. And the second I saw him in that frame, it's like, oh my God, a stop and go. That's like what Webb Slaughter used to do back in the 80s. They look at your feet, man. And when he stopped and looked like he was going to break it off to the sidelines again, like he had done numerous times during the game, and he just went on through. It's like, thank God that Brissett didn't try to fire it in there, that he lofted it and just gave him a chance just to run under the football. But again, when it gets down to that point, big plays either way end the football game. And the Browns were fortunate to have gotten into the overtime. Went 55 minutes between touchdowns.
Yeah.
Stop and think about that.
It was inept football.
And
But something when that all happened, and I was also feeling the same way, that we're not going to have that play to get close enough for York to get a reasonable kick. I didn't see that coming, and obviously the DB got tangled up, fell down,
Yep.
and is looking for the call. It's like, dude, you initiated contact. They do every
No,
time.
he got caught up because
Yeah.
he anticipated the break to the sideline, and it was everything. If you look at the play again, it was everything for Amari Cooper to keep his feet.
Yeah.
That would have been one of those holding calls that would have been called, and it would have only been 5 yards. But he managed to keep his feet and get to that ball. That's the ball game. It's like, that's it. That's the, you make one little mistake when you're on an island with a qualified wide receiver, and that can happen. That's exactly what happened. Brissett deserved 5 or 6 wins. I mean, the Browns did everything they could to lose certain games, and I'll agree with you. Brissett had a few good games, but he's limited in what he can do.
They almost tried to lose today's game. Look at Myles Garrett jumping offside again.
Yeah, but in the end, he redeemed himself because he finally made a play that fucking mattered. You know? I mean, when you needed a sack, he got around the end and got that arm out and tripped Brady. Mm-hmm. That's the play of the game that gets the ball back in the hands because there was no pocket. If he doesn't make that play is going to be sustained, and Brady will probably find somebody close to the flag who'll get a first down. Right by the. Yep. I mean, that's what it is. But I'm not going to, he did make that error, but he redeemed himself. My thing about Myles Garrett is, besides being winded all the time, the fact that he's playing hurt and then everyone uses as an excuse, is that if he's such a supreme pass rusher, where are the plays when the game is on the line?
Well, it's one of the things that made Jordan great, that made, that other people like that, is making that, you want the ball in his hands. You want him to be the guy making the play when the game is on the line. And this time he really did. He really came out there, and it seemed like that last couple series, he kind of had an extra gear. I don't know. It's just whatever it was, but he really just kind of pushed it to the end. It reminded me of the olden days where they were talking about the, guys getting smelling salts and stuff like that. It was like all of a sudden he just popped up to another gear and just really was wearing that guy out over there.
It's called heart. And I equate so much to the boxing game because I grew up around it. And I'll tell you something. Fighters win with skill, with speed, but some historically have won with heart. Sometimes guys just were willing to take more than what they dished out and still managed to win because they found a moment to get the job done. All I ask for in athletes is that they give their full effort. And if you're going to get the accolades of being like one of the premier, then blah, 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 that you got to, there's too many great pass rushers in NFL history that preceded Myles Garrett, that if you're going to talk about him and Hall of Fame and Pantheon, and you're comparing him to the Reggie Whites and people like that of the world, you got to be able to do it when it really matters. Now, Toby, VS World 2, this isn't criticism. It is criticism, but it's not mean-spirited or anger-driven toward Jacoby Brissett. He only looks at one guy. He does not get off his primary receiver. And if that guy is covered, why do you think the opening drives are always so good? Because those are scripted plays, and he's not back in the pocket looking around. He's going to his first read. And they're really well-designed plays based upon tendencies that the defense throws at you from studying, game footage. And good for Stefanski in that regard. But when you come out on the field and you're 3rd and 17 and you decide to throw a 2-yard screen pass, it is an acknowledgement that Jacoby Brissett has no chance of getting a 3rd and 17 and will make a mistake trying. The fact is he's limited. It's why he's a career second stringer. It's why he'll always be a second stringer. He's a solid backup to have because nobody's got much in the way of backups, except the Panthers, who don't really have a starter. They just have a bunch. It's like a revolving door. People take their turn.
Or if you're Denver, you don't have a quarterback, period.
At all. That's right. And you know what's funny about it is you either, if you have a good quarterback, the guy below him, nothing.
Right.
And you look around the league, every one of these teams, the Buffalo Bills, are one horrific injury to Josh Allen away from hell, just like the Bengals were. You saw what happened to the Bengals when Burrow went down.
Yeah.
It's just that important. And Brissett can't carry that load on his shoulders. Today, the defense, by and large, did their job. And that's the important thing. It kept them in the game until, and that was one hell of a catch by the Chief. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that was impressive.
A one-handed grab, and I would not have expected that of him. And he was being held all the way from like the 2-yard line all the way into the end zone. He was being bear hugged. Guy was trying to prevent him from getting to a spot, and he still caught the ball. I mean, that was impressive. And I'll go back to
says something to Tom Brady's decline, though, because I would think 20 of the other quarterbacks in the league would probably have won that game. 25. I think Tom Brady's toast. I really do.
Well, I think that there's, leading into this game, and you should go back and watch Friday's program if you missed it. To me, what I said about, and I, again, compared it to boxers and Muhammad Ali specifically and Joe Louis, who both said the same thing. Joe Louis basically said, when I was young, my hands just moved. When I was old, I had to tell them to move, and by the time they moved, it was too late. The target had moved. What Muhammad Ali said was, you're going to have a lot more off days than you have on days the older you get. And you never know what you're going to get until you come into the ring. And I think that Tom Brady had himself a really good game, and people started getting real excited about it. But coming out with a 45-year-old body, and to be honest with you, not, if you're relying on old, Julio Jones, and, and you have Godwin, who's really a nice possession receiver, you don't have all the great weapons that he used to have, including his favorite tight end. Yeah, go ahead.
Mike Evans was getting open. The problem is either Brady was putting way too much into the throw and overthrowing him, or it was so painfully underthrown that Evans would just, fuck it. Why would I even try?
He's lost confidence with age and his arm strength, and so he's trying to make up with more motion, and what used to come so natural with his hands now is, he's winding up, and either the accuracy sails, we saw that, and a number of balls over the middle of the field, and the last one to Evans, that he had a step on Emerson. And I think Emerson, by the way, did a great job in that game.
He's really shown to have been a great pickup this year.
That's a good draft. So give credit where it's due when a guy gets drafted. But I'll make the argument that Emerson is doing what Joe Woods keeps saying, which is playing fast, playing aggressively, being definitive. Denzel Ward, to me, is a waste of time. I don't know who in the fuck he's covering. The one that he gave up against Evans earlier in the game, I mean, he saw Jones moving to the middle of the field. He had no reason to step off his man and help out somebody else. Look, I mean, you're in man-to-man coverage. Why are you doing that? And he's freelancing. You know, there's no time for that. You got to be aggressive and definitive. It's one of the hardest positions you can play because as the Bucs found out, one stumble costs you a game. You bite at one fake. If you don't drag that guy down at that moment, he's behind you and there's nobody there to help you. That's why the busted coverages have killed the Browns this year. There's nobody behind them. When you're man-to-man and you bust coverage, there's nobody back there to even tackle the guy. So I give credit where it's due, and Emerson played a really good game. And Koromoa made a few nice plays. And from a defensive perspective, I'd like to say that the Browns' coverage was great, but at one point, Tom Brady was 20 of 23.
Yeah, he didn't really start missing until the second half. I mean, he was pretty much on target most of the way. They also threw up a stat during the game on Brissett, and this was something that was there that you kind of pointed this out as well, is that on short passes of 10 or less yards, he was extraordinarily accurate. It was anytime he threw beyond 10 yards. And that's part of the fact that our receivers don't get separation either. But, you know, it is what it is. So and that's generally the further out you go, the less accurate you are. I mean, that's just the nature of the game.
Not 1 for 8 compared to
1 for 8. Yeah, when they brought that up, it was 1 for 8. Yeah.
I mean, just throw, you know, if you're going to do that, you know, I mean, throw the ball 12, 13, 14 yards or whatever. That should be money for a starting quarterback, unless there's just nobody open downfield whatsoever, which we're going to find out real quick, depending on how ready Deshaun Watson is to play. But I'll tell you this, based on what I saw today, there wouldn't be 2 more games left for Jacoby Brissett. His body is beat up. And he was staying on the ground longer and longer, holding his chest at one point. And, you know, and he looked like he's getting banged up pretty good.
He's not used to going through the rigors of being a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pounding. Believe me, it's a pounding.
Well, the last time he did that, wasn't it in Indy? And I don't think he made the whole season there either, Tony.
No,
I mean, you know, and he just, you could see it week by week that he was getting up slower and slower, that his movement when he would scramble out of the pocket was slower and slower, you know. So, and as far as Toby, you trade Ward immediately. He has no trade value the way he is.
Yeah, you ain't getting shit for him.
He ain't going to get shit. And I think you need a new defensive coordinator, and you need somebody who can fire these people up to do the job they're supposed to do and put them in a scheme that they either understand or are willing to play or whatever the story is. God only knows. But when I see one guy like Emerson, who has no business based on where he played collegiate ball, he brought with him tenacity and effort. He's not been perfect this year, but I always say, if you are a first-year cornerback who's thrust into this league, and the only bones that you've made for yourself are at lower-level college football, you're going to be picked on. This is what happens. They'll say, well, look who's out on the field. You know, it's like their regular guy Newsome ain't out there. Look, it's Martin Emerson. And they're going to go after him and target him. This guy he is around the ball. He's on his man. He doesn't get any calls to go his way because from a technique perspective, he has to learn how to sell things better. And being a rookie and being a Cleveland Brown on top of it, he's not going to get a lot of calls. So they'll call him for certain pass interferences that other more established cornerbacks are not going to get called for. You know, and again, I wouldn't be surprised if Joshua Dobbs is the backup quarterback to Deshaun Watson, and they just might want to let Jacoby's body heal. He's taken 1, 2, 3 for the team. I got no problem with Jacoby, with his attitude. He just has limitations. And the thing is, Toby, you have to replace them with real players. And I don't know that you can take linebackers that you have abandoned in the draft. So, Taki and Jacob Phillips are lower draft picks who Phillips came from a winning program in college, but he wasn't a top flight prospect. John Johnson has been disruptive. Ronnie Harrison is a head case. Jordan Elliott just isn't solid enough to make the transition from college football to professional football, nor was he seen as being that. Togiai, you got to be kidding me. Togiai wasn't a guy who was surfacing as being a professional prospect. And Oprah Winfrey, if she gains weight, she can be tougher on the line. I mean, Perion Winfrey, he wrecked his little scooter by running into a pole. Did you hear this story?
No.
The guy's name was Stanislavski. Not that kind of pole. Let me start this over. He's riding his little power bike. You see what I did there, Jim?
Pharma? Is that?
Yeah, you see what I did there? Perion Winfrey is riding this electric bike or scooter or whatever the fuck it was, and somebody was behind him. He turned his head to make sure the guy was behind him and ran smack dab into a pole. I mean, this is not the stuff of which Wonderlic was made. So who are you going to get to fill in a defensive line and linebackers and wide receivers? Just get the goddamn wide receivers. Just do that for me first. Because, if you can't score points, you're not going to win games. And you're not going to win games with Joe Woods being your coordinator with any set of players, as far as I'm concerned. So.
But we won. It was a W.
A win's a win.
It was a W where you held
Yeah,
Tom Brady to 17 points.
Just remember one thing. You remember Mr. Moohead's theory of why he picked the Browns to win. It went something like this.
You were drinking? No. Okay, I'm
No.
sorry.
Nope. The reason is because
Captain Morgan.
but my father always used to say this. Get out of the bathroom and quit hogging it, you fat fuck. No, he said that, but that's not the part that, a blind squirrel could find an acorn once in a while, okay? And eventually, if you go out on the field enough times, you're going to win. And this one felt like that kind of game to me. You had an Old Man River at quarterback playing on our home field. People were starting to give hype to that team. Tom Brady's going to bring them back. And I'm like, I don't think so. No. And it's like, this feels like the Eric Mangini win week. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. So I have a sizable gut, and I went with it. And that's how it works.
That's probably just as well. I mean, this is the National Football League. Teams win even when you don't expect them to, and good teams play bad, and and good players have bad days. And I mean, look at that whole division that they're in the South. There, they all suck. It's kind of like the NFC East was a couple years ago, where they didn't think anyone was going to have a record over 500 to win the division, and this year the NFC East is the best in football. It's
Yeah. It reminds me of what like a rabbi would say. You hit the pole, you hit the pole. Everybody hits a pole. Yeah. I love some. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments here. DeAndre, thanks for jumping into the fray. The only thing he hits is a pole because he sure as hell can't hit the quarterback. He can't even get on the field. He's his own worst enemy. That's the point. He's lazy and he's stupid. he doesn't learn the plays, and what can you say about that? I mean, he'll go down in history as the guy who had the great interview after he was drafted and then faded into Bolivian.
You know how you knew when the Browns were going to win this game?
Yeah. Well,
When the Buccaneers made Anthony Schwartz look fucking competent.
Yeah, you have a point there. You know, it's that was a run Forrest run moment. Now, wasn't it? It was kind of like, oh my God, he actually turned his body upfield and started running north south. I mean, I was laughing my ass off. I'm supposed to be cheering, and I'm laughing my ass off. Anthony Schwartz. I mean, and you know what the Bucs coming to the sidelines said, but coach, it was Anthony Schwartz. They never throw it to him.
What the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, they just flipped it out on the flat, and you know, the reverse was the first one. The reverse, it's like, oh my God, he had an armada in front of him, and it's like he got to run fast for once because, you know, if there had been one person in his vision, he would have fallen to the ground because we've seen him do that all the time.
I'm just amazed he didn't drop the ball on the way to the end zone. But that's because no one touched him. So,
well, the funny thing is, players were coming up to him, and they were like, "Do you know what you just did? Do you know what you just did?" He was in shock. He was like Don Knotts, Sandy. He had that look, you know.
Oh man,
unbelievable. I'm happy for the team that they got to win every now and then.
It keeps me from taking the gas pipe after this weekend. Jeez.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's been a bad weekend for people in Ohio. But, you know, what I wrote on Twitter, I'm going to double down on. It's like everything that I was reading about the Buckeyes from people on social media, it was the same shit they say about the Browns. And it's like, now, wait a minute here. Fire Ryan Day. And it's like, you know, look, they were 11-0 coming into the game. I'm not going to tell you that all 11-0s are not created equal. And they kind of look Notre Dame-esque to me because they had to pull out a couple squeakers that shouldn't have been squeakers. And, you know, they play an easy schedule like Notre Dame used to and win all double-digit games. And then when they came down to a real opponent, they folded like a cheap chair.
Yeah.
Like a lawn chair. They folded. But all of the overreaction on Twitter, and what I said was, you know, I'm reading these things and I could just kind of supplant the word Browns into where it says Buckeyes and put Joe Woods or Kevin Stefanski's name instead of Ryan Day. And it's like, I would think I was reading the same tweets. And then I realized they're the same fucking people who are writing this.
It is. The one thing, though, I think the corner was turned when Terry Pluto, who is one of the nicest men on the planet, went ahead and said, it's time to get rid of Joe Woods last week in his article. And I thought, when Terry Pluto is calling you out, yeah, your time is done. Okay. It's just, it has to be. You know, this was a blip on the radar of them. And once again, they had another wide open play where, you know, where Godwin was wide open on another play. It's just like, why do we have these things happen? But yeah, it
ended up, you know, and I think it is sheer percentages that if you go out so many times, there eventually will be the blind pig that finds the acorn. Oh. And then once he finds the acorn, you know what he does? He spikes it and loses it. That's the Cleveland Browns. Yeah.
And the other pig picks it up and eats it. There you go.
Yeah. The one with vision and sight.
So, you know, also in the world of college football, which actually flows to the NFL, Luke Fickell, who's done a heck of a job bringing people into the NFL at Cincinnati, as opposed to taking the Wisconsin job. So good for him.
He's going to be a cheesehead now.
Yeah, good for him. He'll be able to get a ton of people. Expect to see that pipeline of Ohio kids headed to Wisconsin, kind of like D'Antonio had going to up to Michigan State, and you'll see that type of thing going on. But yeah, he certainly has put people in the NFL, and because that was one of the things they're talking. And then the other thing they're talking about, which isn't Browns related, but people around here are saying Hartline should go to Cincinnati.
This is a great comment.
All with his blood.
It was like, you know what it reminded me of? It was like, who was that? Reyes. Wasn't he the guy who we traded away because he would strike out all the time?
Franmil Reyes?
Franmil Reyes, yeah. It was like watching Franmil Reyes on an off-speed pitch. He would be so far in front of it, it wouldn't even make it to the dugout. It would sail closer to the batter's box than the dugout and hit some fan. If there wasn't a net there, would have smacked him in the face. That's what that kick looked like. Franmil Reyes way out in front of a changeup.
Jonathan Vilma was brutal on him too. I thought he was being nice for what he could. He goes, yeah, that kick wasn't even gonna make it no matter what happened.
And you know goddamn well that at the end of the game, if they didn't go for the touchdown, Cade York was missing that field goal.
Oh yeah,
right.
We all felt that way.
And here's a comment. Well, I thought I had a comment, but I'm going to show the comment now. David Bell, it's very hard. He catches the ball, but he gets 4 yards down the field. Now, the question is, he's not going to be the primary read for Jacoby Brissett. This is why I want to see Deshaun Watson play a little bit. And I don't expect Watson to be sharp when he comes back because game speed and everything is radically different than, he knows it in his head, but he's got to experience it physically again. And, but I think David Bell can catch the ball. The thing is, he's got to have a quarterback with vision because he's not going to be a primary read all that often. And it takes somebody to be able to shift their eye and their view quickly. And, but I think David Bell can catch the ball. It's not like Anthony Schwartz, who did catch the other pass, by the way. And it's like,
the one where there was no one within 5 yards of him anywhere.
Yeah. And but you had to be, if you were a Bucs fan, it's like, your worst. It's like, that's how you know your team is going to lose. Actually, the way somebody asked earlier, when did you realize that the Browns were going to win? And on the Friday show, but being serious about it was when you give the ball to Tom Brady twice and he can't convert in an overtime period. You don't get a third chance. And no matter how bad the team is that he's playing, he just never rose to the occasion. He just didn't. He didn't have it in him. So that's when I knew. And it's like, run Chubb, wear them down. Then when the big pass came up, and, I don't know why in the hell, and we're reviewing where he went out of bounds. Every one of these things that they kept reviewing, Njoku had a first down in the first quarter of that game, and they just said, no, and we reject the Stefanski's little red flag. We're sticking with our call, even though, and the network didn't even show any angles on it. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It's all in cahoots. It's all pathetic. Once that long pass, and then they said, and we're reviewing something on the field. It's like, all right, go ahead. Where are you going to place the ball now? And so help me God, it's like, give the ball to Chubb. I don't want to see Kareem Hunt in the game. No. Give the ball to Chubb. First time, not successful. Second time, the guy jumped off sides, and I don't know what he thought. If the play was going to come around the edge, I'm not sure why he jumped off sides. But, yeah, just push him into the end zone. Fuck him. That's what you do in that situation. Now we're really getting into the nitty-gritty. Corky from Life Goes On, Keith. Is that what we're comparing Cade York to? Oh, hell. We won. You can do that. We believe in free speech here. But I'm not going to do my Corky impression, which I used to do because I'm now socially woke.
Yeah.
God. No.
Oh, wait. Am I not on mute anymore? Sorry. Whoops.
No, I know. It's like anybody who's watched this program through the years, I've said so many horrible things that you would think if there was really a God that I would have been hurled into the infernal regions. I've said some incredibly distasteful things. But, the Corky thing, no, we're not going to go there.
No, it's too easy. Sometimes they're just too simple to...
But what I will repeat that I said many years ago that'll get me in trouble, but the bottom line is they should not call it Down syndrome because it's too negative. It has a negative implication. And I'm going to basically say this for the woke crowd. Let's call it Up syndrome.
Wasn't there a baseball player who had a kid that said that exact same thing?
That had what?
Had a kid that was affected by Down syndrome and actually said that exact same thing, said Up syndrome. I'm not joking. I will look it up.
Well, then he was ahead of his time. He beat me to it. I mean, we got to make everything. We call them special, but special singles them out still. Somebody special, if you remember when you were a kid, is like a prodigy. That child is special. That child just wrote an opera when he was 12 years old, or that, made a rocket fly when he was 8 or whatever. That child is special. And we ruined the word special, and that's not what we should be saying because it still singles them out. Up syndrome. Be positive about these things. It's like the goddamn right-wing maniacs who are infesting Twitter now because Elon Musk bought the goddamn thing, right? Don't say anything on Twitter, for God's sakes, that goes... Do you know what they're saying right now, Jim? You're not going to believe this, and I'm sorry that I'll get off it real quick because I know this is a Brown show. They're saying that the left establishment and whatever words they can use to describe the tyranny of it all has shamed men, and that men are not being given credit for their accomplishments. And that's the reason why Elon Musk is under attack. It's like the same men who comprise 90% of Congress, the same men who represent 90% of the CEOs in the country, the same men. I mean, how are they not being rewarded for their accomplishments, for God's sakes? They're part of the 1% that earns all the wealth. These people are fucking stupid. And what they are is they're impotent and they're embarrassed about being men. Because, it makes them feel good saying, I'm a man, I can side with Elon Musk. Go out and do something with your fucking life. If you want accolades, accomplish something. Jesus Christ. Same thing I say about athletes. Don't tell me you have a reputation. Go out and earn the reputation. Win. Don't tell me your kid's a great hitter because he hits off a T-ball stand. Fucking let him play baseball and hit a pitch baseball. Okay, I'm done. Not with the show segment. All right. So, if you're looking at the final statistics of the game, which I'm always interested in, Tom Brady was still 29 of 43 with no interceptions, 2 touchdowns. All right. I mean, that in and of itself, I mean, But again, and Brissett was 23 of 37 for 210 yards. The difference is one guy is still allegedly in his prime, and the other guy is older than Old Man River. But Brady did get sacked 3 times. Chubb ended up with 116 yards. They tried not to give him the ball for the longest period of time to see how long it would take for him to finally get it, you know? The Browns ran for 189 yards. And Kareem Hunt is not even in the game plan anymore. And he just looks like, with the exception of the one run, and this guy can't run east-west. Bad idea. Bad idea. The one time that they shot him up the gut, and they called it an angry run. The telecasters, the broadcasters called it that. He built up a head of steam. But I think that I'm going to catch flack for this too. He is so far behind the skill level of Nick Chubb that it isn't funny, and he's expendable.
I think I think you know that the league is behind the skill level of Nick Chubb. He is right now. They did show a graphic, right, of people that the highest yards per carry. He's number 2 all time with over 1,000 carries. Number 2 all time. That's in front of number 32, Jim Brown, and Barry Sanders, who, first ballot Hall of Fame. I mean, he continues the streak 4 years with 1,000 yards with the shit that we've had to play with.
And, and again, he's not part of our game plan. We don't throw the football to him, and that's a skill set that he has. And I'm looking at Ford returning kickoffs, and it's like, well, where has this been? Here's a guy who knows how to hit daylight. I don't feel so bad about Dearness Johnson. I mean, if Ford stays healthy, I think he's your backup running back. They trust him to catch kicks and run them back. He's got ball security. He's got hands. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's got a motor, man. He can move. I mean, it's amazing watching him return kickoffs compared to the other people who would just run sideways and fall down. Amazing. Oh, I'm going to leave Jedrick Wills alone. Let him smoke his weed after the game, for goodness sakes. Leave the man alone. Rubber City Breaks is in the chat room. Let's see what he has to say. Yep. We Rubber City Breaks and I go back and forth because, and we agree that, it's like, when are we going to actually get a value pick out of the draft? Well, we might have one now. Martin Emerson is playing some very good football. So it's nice to be able to point out some positive things about the team and the players who,
Is Myles Garrett injured?
He was hurt and off the field, slammed his helmet to the ground because his left shoulder, and we know the problem, it just, the pain was too much, and he slammed his helmet on the ground, and he was out of the game. But he came back in to get that sack. That's what I'm talking about when I say those are the special things I can't use the word special because, again, it's been ruined. I'm not calling Myles Garrett special in that sense, okay? Great players do great things in great moments, okay? It's pretty bad when you have to watch your language using a simple word like that. God almighty.
I was able to find the MLB player. It was Rex Hudler. Rex Hudler's son, Cody, was born with Down syndrome. And Rex is a great guy. Or Cade. I'm sorry, Cade. And just a great guy. And the Team Up for Down Syndrome is the organization and the nonprofit that Rex has. Rex was a good guy. So.
And, again, 3.8 yards per carry. I think that he has certainly looked better in years past, and he knows his future is not in Cleveland. So, yes, I will grant you that. And his future is not in Cleveland. So, And he's a different kind of running back. We need big plays from our running backs because we don't have that capacity from our wide receivers. Hopefully with a quarterback in place, if we can draft some wide receivers, which I say every year and we don't, we might be able to strike quickly rather than drag our heels through 4 quarters of hell and have to wait 55 minutes between touchdowns. That's scary.
We draft wide receivers. They're just Anthony Schwartz and David Bell. Yeah.
Well, Bell at least can catch the ball. I don't
Bell
understand
catches the ball, but Bell is never going to be a game breaker.
who
Bell's gonna be a
vetted Anthony
great-
Schwartz. That's what I want to know. Who vetted this guy? He can't break a tackle. He can't catch a ball. He's not sure where he's supposed to line up.
And Demetrius Felton was going to be the other one, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Bye.
He's been on the
Lost in space list. Yeah.
not playing list.
Every time you see the clock running down on Jacoby Brissett, I want to see if I can do an impersonation. All right. You're realizing, okay, well, they're getting a little bit late out of the huddle. And then they get up to the line of scrimmage, and he's like this. Like a traffic cop. And then he's like, and he turns to the sidelines. Froholt actually snapped the ball to him in order to get the snap off before the clock ran out, and it caught him by surprise. And I'm amazed that he caught the snap. I mean, we're still having trouble lining up, and there's no excuse when you're in the 2-minute time of a game, whether it's in regulation or overtime, that you're having trouble getting lined up at the line of scrimmage. That's absolutely crazy, but that's what's happening. And this is what it's been reduced to, Raymond. Going airborne for a few yards, that's right, hurdling, or getting yardage after he gets a real running start, and the strength of his legs just mow people down. Sheer strength. That he can't run east-west. He just can't do it. And that's a big problem. And David Talevsky, who is always an important part of this program. There's a chance he needs surgery after the season. I don't think there's any question about that. It's a similar type of injury to what Baker Mayfield had. It's not a chance. He's going to need surgery because you can't afford, with a player like that, to not go through the surgical procedure and have him have a recurrence of that injury the following season. That's not an acceptable outcome. There are cases where the plays that we run are horribly rudimentary, elementary, and are easily diagnosed at the line of scrimmage. I'll agree with Wable here. And it's like, sometimes it's like you'll see Brissett calling out, and he's pointing 45, like he's creeping up the line of scrimmage. God damn it, they hand it off. That's right in that spot. That's where the play, he's not allowed to change the fucking play.
Yeah.
Goddamn Stefanski. Don't get me started. Bullheaded. Let Van Pelt go on vacation. Get a guy who's really an offensive coordinator. Stop the madness. Got to be better for Deshaun Watson. It's got to be better. Oh, and listen to this. This Sunday we got CBS #1 commentators, Nance and Romo. What is DW versus Deshaun Watson versus Houston? Yeah. And Houston just got railed today. They were down 30-0 when I looked at halftime to Miami. I don't know what was the final on that?
30-15. Miami fucking took the brakes off.
Yeah. My God. So yeah, we have a chance to win that game.
I would highly doubt Romo, and they're going to send Romo and Nance to Cleveland and Houston.
Well, you say that, but the return of Deshaun Watson and the reaction of the fans and any negativity that you're going to see that it's about Cleveland, believe me, it will come to pass. They will want the whole world to see it. That's just the way that plays out. Hey, little TY. Hey, this is what a win feels like. Woohoo! I know what you mean. We sit here week after week and, and I feel proud that I actually called the victory on Friday for no goddamn good reason. Just seemed like...
And you know what? My wife just reminded me, if they win next week, it's called a winning streak. And it has happened before.
If they don't win next week, then people need to be fired.
Well,
Texans team, and they're starting Kyle Allen, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. It's... I
guess
the fans... See, I agree with whoever... And you want a perfect example of bullshit? Bullshit is when the organization says, somebody got out on the field with a golf cart and tore up the field. All right? And they only showed a little bit of the sideline, that got torn up. And I'm like, looking at Rox. Rox is my girlfriend. And I said, if you're going to go to the trouble to break into Baker's place, and you're going to grab a golf cart, why wouldn't you run it all over the field and just do donuts? And sure enough, when we come to the national broadcast, it was all over the middle of the field. Somebody really decided to dance on the field. That's the fans giving the organization back what the fuck it deserves. All right. But here's the bottom line. Mary Kay Cabot, the woman Hall of Fame reporter now. Hall of Fame, Mary Kay Cabot.
Yep.
Did you see what she tweeted?
No.
I try not
inadvertently dropped a bomb. No fucking golf cart. It was an F-150. She says an F-150 in her goddamn tweet. And I'm like,
what in the fuck?
Yep. They lied. The organization fucking lied and said it was a golf cart in a little piece of the field. It was an F-150. And she's so fucking daft. She can't even play that fucking game right.
It had to be more, because a golf, unless it was pouring fucking rain.
Right.
Don't leave those kind of fucking words.
Unreal.
How the fuck you break an F-150? What the? It's an inside job.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is, ownership deserved it. Deface the goddamn field. Honest to God, there's nothing sacred about that place with what Haslam has put on it. No. And I'll agree. I'm sure there are people open. I want to see Deshaun Watson play, but his timing isn't going to be great, folks.
Oh, he hasn't played in 2 years.
That's right. So, but I'll be interested in seeing that if at least his vision sees people who are open, even if the ball doesn't get there in time or whatever the case may be. If the ball is directed at secondary and tertiary targets that are open, I'm all for that. That's good for me. I think I'm done here. Everyone's comments are good. I'd like to put up all the comments here. We are seeing from Talevsky that Spiro Ditas and Jay Feely are calling the game. Yeah, the Chiefs-Bengals is the primary game. We get Spiro Ditas. God help our soul.
Spiro knows Don Criqui. He had us every game when we sucked.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like he's being punished.
Hey, he can still say at the end of the day that he's an NFL announcer. All right, most of us can't say that, but by gosh, he can put that on his resume.
And I'll end the show this way. My neighbor, Dick Vitale. I'll do my Dick EV. This is going to be a really great game. What in the fuck am I doing in Chattanooga, Tennessee? UT Chattanooga, They even have a team. Yeah, Spirodidis. It's like I can just see the resigned look on his face. Cleveland again. I mean, are we there yet? All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in to the postgame show. We are victorious. We should be grateful. I'm going to be back on Moohead Radio tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go over and watch the Cleveland Cavaliers and see if we can beat Detroit in Detroit, because God only knows.
Allen, of course.
What?
I just saw on Twitter they're without LeVert and Allen.
Yeah, well, Allen took a bad fall on his hip, and that is going to be a bruised area. And so I expected that, and I just don't want to see very much Robin Lopez. Please make it so. But that's going to make life easier for a 3-15 Pistons team. They're not a very good basketball team, but we got our ass handed to us. Against Milwaukee, and we got to show more grit than that. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll talk about the aftermath of this Browns victory and about the Cavaliers as well. Until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.